The XCC was well known to all who served under its nervous eyes as both completely impotent and ineffective, and also the finest conspiracy mankind had ever created, hiding its dark and terrible powers beneath the most civilized smile in the galaxy. The director was currently listening to a whole new sub-theory that the XCC was set to crush all xeno-life through its control of the subspace network and dragons. He raised his hand to interrupt. "What now? I thought we were doing clone armies. I don't have dragons handy." He paused and looked at his personal AI. "Do I?" The AI blinked, a skill it had learned from the director. "Sir, the events on Aristotle are now common knowledge, and those that wish to believe such things assume we are now cloning exono-dragons." He sat back. "Fine. So my clone magic dragon armies are doing what now? And what has that got to do with this missing ship exactly?" The XCC rep that had brought this stuttering explanation to the director tried again. "Director, we lost a ship, the Arwen, to a group that was only there to take their engineer. She threw enough dust in their eyes that we recovered the crew, but the ship wasn't just taken. We counted 3 vessels dumped into the local sun, including ours. Particle analysis tells us that they shot their own crew before dumping the ships, then traveled in a smaller vessel, presumably a shuttle to somewhere else, and then burned that too." "To escape the dragons?" The XCC rep was feeling the pressure. "Sir, all I know is that this is a level of paranoia such as we have never seen before. If they wanted to hire an engineer, we have discounts for that. We will practically throw one at you if you're stuck. Stealing one and killing your own people, burning ships. That's a whole new level of fucked up. I don't think the engineer is getting home safe, whatever the logic." The director called up the file again. "So why this one? Is she important? Don't tell me she has Exino friends, because seriously, I will resign if that happens again. I'm still paying Revel more money than I care to think about. Who is she?" The rep shrugged. "Sir, she is just one of us. Served, did her time, and took 3 contracts with a friendly. Competent, never been in conflict. She likes sushi and paintball. She never worked Intel, never got more than a straight pass in her exams. Good family life, a mother that works in Xeno outreach, and brothers that are flying cargo in system. Her father is a chef on Mars Orbital. Intel has 3 lines on her and less on the ship. It carried seafood." The director frowned. "Oddly specific. Where's your intel coming from?" The rep sighed and looked at the floor. "Sir, we checked her dating profile. She's single." The director let his thoughts bounce around. This smelled wrong, like someone had made the first move in a game he didn't know he was playing. His professional side wanted to wait for her corpse to surface and then deal with it, but he suspected this was something beginning to bubble, some new threat. "Fine. You have a full budget and a promotion. Clear the decks, grab whoever you need. Find our missing sushi eater and punish the fuck out of whoever did this. Call my office if anyone gets in the way or you need the Marines. Update me every 48 hours, my time. Dismissed." Alice was grabbed and dragged to what she recognized as a shuttle. Even with the blindfold, she could smell the years of boring travel as she banged into the closely set seats. She was pushed down as the nasties took their seats. She heard them stand up in a shuffle as if someone important had arrived, so she spoke up. "Hey, stranger, any chance I could lose the blindfold? I'm sure you're as beautiful as your friends here. Then you can tell me why you decided to go to war with the human race. I mean, if you needed me to change the batteries in your sex doll, I can promise never to tell anyone. Except for my friends. Maybe some people I meet in bars." She was silenced when a scaled fist descended and ripped away the blindfold. She suddenly felt less defiant when she saw the old and darkened creature before her. This was no pirate. It carried itself with a grim dignity that chilled her rage. She fell silent. "Human, you will never know the price I am paying to bring you to my superiors. I wish you well in their hands. Perhaps you will return to your home one day." The commander stood and addressed the Xenos. "As you were. We will land in less than an hour. Make your peace and know that I travel with you. Your families will be well rewarded. Heroes of the homeworld all. Dismissed." The roar from the Xenos deafened Alice as she shrank back into her seat. The shuttle sped in silence towards its destination, even as Alice listened to the quiet murmurs from her captors. They were all praying to some strange god, some invisible friend that would take all the pain away. Her efforts to interrupt were completely ignored as they began to fall silent and check their weapons. The landing was tense in ways she couldn't describe until their leader arrived and hauled her from her seat. His eyes were full of suppressed rage and pain as he walked her carefully down the ramp and left her standing alone in the cargo hold of yet another ship. "Someone will be here shortly. I am not permitted to meet them." The Xeno scowled at the ship. "Human, I have no love for your people, but I have no knowledge of any wrong that you have caused me. Whatever they ask you to do, remember that 53 of us died to bring you here today. You are valuable to them." At that, he unlocked her shackles and, letting them fall to the floor, returned to the shuttle in silence even as she heard the weapons fire from within. She watched as it left the ship, and then the shields fell, hiding it from her view. The Necroton commander stepped over the bodies as he made his way to the pilot's console, pausing only to close the eyes of his war chief. Martyrs indeed. He hadn't believed in the gods for a long time, but today he hoped all those wistful dreams of desperate people were true, at least for those that held to such things, not for him. He plotted the course for the sun and pulled out his own weapon, letting it sit on the console until he was sure the ship was following its commands. A flare of plasma ended all thought as the ship fell obediently into the sun. Alice waited in the cold for something to happen, searching the broken and empty boxes for anything she could use. Nothing. She picked up and weighed the shackles for a moment. They were ridiculously long for a creature that didn't have a tail, so she wrapped them around her waist, pulling down her shirt to cover her strange new belt. A small shuttle began landing, so she stood back and took notes. White, some weird symbol on the front. 6 people or less, and she liked those odds. Then 4 heavily armed Xenos stepped out and pointed their weapons at her. Fuck. She gritted her teeth and remembered what the old Xeno had said. Valuable. Better start there, then. She pulled herself upright and marched up to the troopers, pointing weapons at her. So all this for nothing? She slapped the gun down. The Xeno raised it again, its eyes tightening. She sniffed. That's what I thought. I've been abducted by idiots. Fine. Shoot me. Maybe you have the men and ships to do this every second weekend, but my people will find you and bury you under the fucking corpses of your mistakes. She held her breath. The guns didn't move, but they didn't fire either. From the shuttle limped another Xeno. She thought it was old, but as it got closer, she realized that it just didn't have a tail. Its long, dark robe covered its body, but it was trying to walk like a human. She watched as the soldiers dropped their eyes with a mix of awe and disdain showing briefly. It hobbled to her. Human Alice, you are in my power and your future is mine to decide. If you will not cooperate, then you will die here and save me the trouble of cleaning up my shuttle. I see you are not wearing shackles. That can change. Robes, mutilation, and pride. Now she knew what she faced. Fuck that. Alice held her hands out straight. Go on, then. Do you think you can threaten me? All you can do is kill me. That's boring since I won't be around afterwards. You need me to have a reason not to try and kill you. Save your babbling prayers for something that gives a shit, priest. The soldiers hissed and raised their weapons at her, looking like that had been a little too much. The priest raised his hand. Yes, the humans that build their own gods, that make their very ships immortal and pretend they don't believe. Liars all. Our gods are old and vengeful. You are a priest too, engineer, but you serve false gods. Alice let her arms drop. I do engine repair and console upgrades. Occasionally I clean up the VR before someone dies in there. I'm no priest. The only thing I have ever served is coffee and beer. The priest said nothing more, simply nodding at the soldiers. Alice began walking before the pushing had a chance to start.